Hello and welcome to the first of what will be 3 videos of somewhat special episodes of In Between and Neither. These are 3 interlude episodes, you could say. Brief catching up with what happened is that I originally wrote 5 chapters of In Between and Neither back in 2010. And, well, I mean, it's supposed to be a semi-autobiographic story. I'm not sure how far I've made that clear at this point. I think I did. So, well, something terrible happened after I wrote the fifth chapter. Namely, I tried to take my own life. And I failed, obviously. And after that, a few months later, I went back to In Between and Neither and reading through those last 3 chapters that I wrote, I felt completely unhappy with how because that was written by this old me, and it was not how I wanted the story to be. So I decided to rewrite it, which means that the current version of In Between and Neither, the last 3 chapters, as they are now on my website, they are actually the revised version, the second version, which I wrote back in 2011, and they're quite different. But now, years later, I'm looking at those again and I'm like, that's not how I want it to be. I mean, no, I've got something much better. I got more interesting ideas, and also in the intervening time, I've written this one spin-off story which I read previously called In Between a Love Story, which is also quite different, I think. And I mean, there has to be this balance between like the negative things that happen and the positivity, and it has to strike the right balance to cover really all of the details that are important. And to me, it does not feel like the first 3, chapter 3 through 5 of In Between and Neither, which I wrote in 2010, they do not cover that. Also, I literally ended the story in the 5th chapter, which kind of precludes from writing anything more after that, and I was not happy with that at all. The 2011 version, I thought it was too wistful, too optimistic, too unrealistic as a result. So basically at this point, I have decided that In Between and Neither, the final version, as it will be written in stone, and the final version at some point, I will be writing a new version. So chapter 3, 4, 5 and onwards will be not like they are right now, somewhat similar as in the current revision, but they'll be different. But because I do not just want to erase the old versions, so I've decided that in these 3 videos, of which I will be recording the first one right now, I will be reading all of those chapters. So the 2010 version and the 2011 version of each chapter. So today I'll be reading chapter 3 of In Between and Neither, the 2010, and then the 2011 version. Both are about 5 pages, so it's doable. And then, for comparison's sake, I guess, then at least I've got this record, it will be there, and I would welcome any feedback on that. So, right. With all of that said, I guess we'll start now with reading the chapter 3, the 2010 version. Then brief interludes, and we'll continue with the 2011 version. And yeah. So I hope you enjoy this, I guess. And you may note some differences between both versions. For those people who have actually read the 2011 version or the current version on my website, they will probably notice quite a few differences when they hear the 2010 version. So, enjoy. Maybe. In Between and Neither, Part 3. The only constant which I can remember in my life is that of being disappointed by others and a deepening solitude following each of these events. Whether it was people forgetting about their promises, just plain passing me by while rushing ahead in their own lives, leaving me behind in their wake without so much as a glance, or completely trampling over my feelings. I have learned that the only thing in my life which I can absolutely trust in is solitude. As there I will find no one who can hurt me. Inside this solitude, there is just me. And as far as I know, this is the only person in this cruel and unforgiving world who has never tried to and will never try to harm me. The past years I spent trying to find recognition for my medical condition, and some help where necessary has just reinforced this notion, from one medical specialist saying something completely different from another, the MRI scan images being interpreted completely differently, without any interest from either side to discuss its difference, to me being told outright lies, such as a conclusion by a sexologist informing me that I was suffering from the non-existing condition autoparagyneconifolia, a term which would mean that I see myself as being physically a girl, even though I'm not. Nice try, but my environment thinks it's even easier to see me as a girl than it is for myself. I'm not sure I can even get angry about all of this any longer. All I know is that everyone out there is there only to harm me. Maybe not always in obvious ways, but sometimes more insidious, akin to getting stabbed in the back by a friend. These experiences, taken together, have coalesced in this seething ball of frustration and pain deep inside of me, which I can have merely churning away while I'm isolating myself from basically the world around me, or frothing and burning me up from the inside, causing me to lash out at everyone and everything around me, even if maybe some of those people actually do have honorable intentions. I'm not sure whether to call it paranoia or just the later stages of severe mental trauma. My recent encounter and subsequent talks with Catherine do have changed something, I think. It's not like, for example, my mother didn't try to reach me, stay close to me, but for some reason it's not quite the same. I'm really not quite sure how to explain it, but it's more like I would expect a mother to do that even if she can't understand it. Maybe that's why I feel frustrated by it. When I'm with Catherine, talking, or even just sitting there, it feels like our common experiences enable us to understand each other in ways which are otherwise impossible. She has her pain and frustrations as well, but in her case it's based in the past, while mine still continues in the present and future. Both of us have to find ways to deal with it, and what better way than to share the weight of it among us? Another question which keeps bothering me is whether I can really, truly trust her. Can I trust her not to hurt me, even inadvertently? My instincts, honed by years of rejection and pain, yell at me to keep my distance, to get away if possible. Yet deep inside of me there is another voice, a very lonely one, telling me in a tear-choked and gentle voice to open myself for the possibility of finding a common soul. Upon hearing this voice, I often feel overcome with this intense longing to break out of the solitude which I've created around me, to crest through these traumas and all of this pain and frustration just for that one chance to experience true happiness, momentary or not. For just that, I'm willing to trust Catherine with all of my heart, in the knowledge that she also has trusted me with hers. It's another sunny spring day, and I find myself nearly dozing after a mathematics class. It isn't one of my favorite topics already, mainly because of the way that it's being given. Having this lazy atmosphere in the classroom and this warm sun shining on me, making me feel dozy, is a great recipe for me falling asleep right here and now. A sudden sharp pain to the back of my head jolts me fully awake. It felt like something hit me, yet glancing behind me, I don't see anything unusual. A feeling of nausea seems to creep up from my stomach. I fear that this could mean just the beginning of another, this time more insidious assault. That, or this projectile was meant for someone else, and the person shooting it is just a lousy shot. I return to the book that's lying open on my desk, meanwhile fully aware of the possibility of another incoming missile. I must say that it makes it very hard to focus on anything. Minutes pass without anything happening. Then without warning another hit. This one on my right shoulder. Then another again on the back of my head. I quickly turn around, convinced that this is no longer a fluke. Only bored faces greet me, without a hint as to who might be responsible. I decide to quit playing this game. Packing my books into my bag, I search the floor for the projectiles. After a quick scan, I find one of them. It's a metal bearing, a small one. It definitely explains why it hurts so much. Picking it up with one hand while hoisting my bag onto my shoulder with my other, I get onto my feet, well aware of the attention that I'm drawing from the students. As I approach the teacher's desk, he looks up at me, then sees my backpack and raises an eyebrow. Without a detailed explanation, I put a bearing on his desk and simply state, "I'm going to study in private." Then leave the classroom. Walking down the hallway, I find it hard to keep down this sick feeling. For so long I've been an unremarkable student in so many ways, smart but not excessively, socializing just enough to not be considered a complete outcast, and generally ignored by almost everyone. Now it seems that starting with these girls which Bruce mentioned, something is changing, and I have the feeling that whoever is responsible doesn't have my personal well-being in mind. Not feeling particularly interested in studying at this point, I consider dropping by Catherine's office, yet remember that she doesn't work today. I could report this incident, but I very much doubt that it would change anything. In the end, I just decide to give up on it for today and go home. The next day is equally sunny and fine spring weather. While cycling down to the school, I find myself almost forgetting my troubles yesterday and the ones I might come across today. I doubt it could get much worse than my last encounter with Bruce, but it's bad luck to hope for the best in my experience. I would rather just buckle up for the worst which life can throw at me. Safety first. Everything seems normal as I park my bicycle and make my way to the main entrance. Entering the building, I have to let my eyes adjust for a moment to the relative gloom inside compared to the bright sunlight outside. Then I notice the stairs. All students in the entrance hall have turned around and are looking at me. Two girls turn towards each other and start whispering at each other. Ignoring them, I make my way to my locker. Painted over the identification tag on the front is the word "freak" in neon green letters. Subtle. With a stinking feeling, I proceed to unlock and open my locker, only to notice that it is already open. A quick inspection shows that the door has been forced open. As the door swings open on its hinges, the stench of fresh paint meets me. Neon green letters proclaiming their message are everywhere and scribbling on every other surface. All my books and other possessions are either ruined or displain destroyed. With an inward sigh, I let the door swing close again, intent to report this one to the principal. Making my way towards the main hallway, I'm about to open the door as a strong hand suddenly clasps around my upper arm and yanks me to the side. As I look up at the person responsible, I find myself staring into the grinning face of Bruce. "Hi, freak." I try to stay calm. "You can't do anything to me here, Bruce. You know that. If you try something, you'll be suspended or worse." Bruce's grin widens. "Oh, I know. That's why I won't do anything. Just like you won't do anything, right? I was about to tell the principal everything, actually, I respond, clearly aware of the threat in Bruce's words and body language. Before I can say another word, I see Bruce's fist swinging at me. Still caught in his iron grasp, I am unable to dodge until a shower of stars explodes from the left side of my head. The unmerciful darkness claims me. I am so cold. My fingers are painfully numb, and trying to move any other part of my body sends waves of agony coursing through them. Wondering where I am, I try to open my eyelids, yet all I see is darkness. Trying to ignore the pain in my limbs, I feel around me, and can only feel cold, concrete floor. Forcing myself up into a sitting position, I am painfully reminded of the blow to my head, as I feel my head throbbing and waves of nausea force me to lie back down again. I faintly wonder whether I have suffered a concussion. With the force Bruce puts behind his punches, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. Another thing which I'm becoming more and more aware of is that I'm naked, stripped of even my underwear. Part of me wonders whether Bruce realizes how he lacks in originality. Not that this matters. I'll have to find a way out of here, and find some warm clothes or a blanket before I lose all sensation in my limbs. Suddenly, I hear a noise to my right, and an intense beam of light penetrates the darkness, blinding me almost completely. From the sounds of birds and street noises, I assume that the door which is opened leads directly to outside. Squeezing my eyes closed to protect them from the sunlight after spending so long in darkness, I can make out a silhouette standing inside the door frame. It doesn't appear to be Bruce, based on the size and build. So you finally decided to wake up, huh? A female voice says, with a clear disdain. Bruce should have hit you even harder, if it was up to me. I decide not to respond at all. Thanks to this terrible cold penetrating every part of my body, I don't think I would even have the energy for it anyway. As my eyes get used to the bright sunlight, I can make out more of this person until I recognize her. It's Melissa, one of the alpha females at school, who would just do fine in a Mean Girls movie. When she steps forward into the room, which I now recognize as being one of the equipment sheds behind the school buildings, I can see how she's clenching her jaw as she looks at me. I get a distinct feeling that I'm as rejectable in her eyes as a creepy insect, and that she would squash me with equal pleasure. I wonder why she would have joined up with someone like Bruce to pick on someone like me. It's not like I've ever been close to her or her friends, or have done anything to offend her. As far as I know, of course. You never know with these types. You're absolutely disgusting, you know that. Just look at you with a freakish body. It makes me sick to just look at you. Finding no reason to listen to Melissa's ranting, I try to judge whether I can make it to the door in my current state. Unfortunately, this hope is quickly squashed when Melissa's friends, or maybe I should say mob members, also walk into the room. Any chance of escape has just been rendered impossible. Glancing at Melissa, like someone might keep an eye on a poisonous snake mere centimeters away from one's face, I notice that she's pacing, as though torn between certain thoughts. As she suddenly turns her gaze upon me, with her face contorting in sudden rage, I brace for the pain which is to come soon. When her foot hits me in the ribs, it knocks the wind out of me. I gasp for breath, which seems to amuse the crowd which has amassed around me. Melissa grabs my arms and pushes me face down onto the floor. I faintly struggle, but find I'm far too weak to resist. All I can do is to try to keep breathing steadily. How dare you pretend to be female, you freak! Melissa hisses angrily. Suddenly, I think I understand her motivation, and a thought makes the blood in my veins run even colder. I decide that Melissa and I have gotten a few wires crossed over the years as leader of this pack of females. I just hope she isn't any more crazy than Bruce. The bruises from my previous run-in with him are barely visible anymore. Hand me the knife, Karen, Melissa commands, upon which a wide-eyed girl presents her with what looks to be a hunting knife. At the sight of it, I upgrade my analysis of Melissa from disturbed to borderline psycho. Is it really planning to carve me up like a pig? I'm more than just in trouble. For all I know, I'll be bleeding to death in a few moments from now. My recent struggles have had one benefit. My limbs don't feel near frozen any longer, and the surge of adrenaline has taken care of any other lingering issues. I could run a few kilometers on frozen stumps if I had to right now. All I need is a chance to make my move. Put this freak on its back and hold the arms and legs down. It'll probably struggle a lot, Melissa says, a dangerous gleam visible in her eyes. Nothing borderline, she's a full-blown psycho, and her followers are either too brainwashed or too scared to object. If I don't act soon, this place will soon be a murder scene, and there will be no more Alice to lament her existence. Multiple sets of hands grab my arms and pull me up from the floor. Then more hands grab my legs and hold me down as my arms are lowered onto the floor. With a strength born from sheer desperation and survival instinct, I kick out with my legs, catching my assailants by surprise. With my legs free, I use a twisting motion to free my arms and to get up from the floor. Taking a few tentative steps, I soon find that I can run without issues. Noting a few girls moving in closer, having recovered sooner than the others from the surprise of seeing their prey escape, I use my elbows and hear splintering noises when I hit a few of the girls' faces. I'm pretty sure they won't be going after me with a broken nose. Seldom has the sunlight seemed so beautiful to me. Just a few more steps and I can find help and end this living nightmare. Then suddenly I feel a piercing pain in my side and hear Melissa yelling something. Right now I don't care about anything but escaping, which I do. I run through the door opening onto the soft grass that feels like running on clouds after the cold, hard concrete, and towards the front of the building, towards people and help. I can feel the blood pounding inside my head, and I'm beginning to feel lightheaded. Then I find myself stumbling, with my vision growing dimmer with every passing second. In the distance I can hear voices, one of them definitely Melissa's. Seems like they will get a prey after all. Is the last thing I think before I faint. Blurry impressions of moving quickly, of jostling about and people fussing over me. I hear someone shouting questions at me, but I cannot understand them. Then I find myself fading off again into a darkness where nothing can reach me. How much time has passed since Bruce knocked me out? I awoke in a shed and I find myself drifting slowly back towards consciousness again. I don't have the faintest clue. All I know is that there is something special about waking up in a soft, fluffy bed after having gone through hell only moments before. Just the feeling of total peace, of everything being alright at that point, is hard to replicate. I take care to fully take in this peaceful sensation before I decide to confront reality again by opening my eyes. Lots of white, with a subdued noise of monitoring equipment. It probably means that I'm lying in a hospital room. Blinking a few times to clear my vision, I attempt to move my head and find that I can do so without all too much pain. To my left, there is a large window, through which I can see a blue sky and a few fluffy, white clouds. To my right, there is an impressive array of monitoring equipment. The door of this room is also on the right side. It suddenly opens and a nurse enters the room. I guess that me waking up must have been noticed by the staff, thanks to all of these sensors that are hooked up to me. "How do you feel, Miss Kingsley?" the nurse asks. As I try to answer, I find that my throat is so dry that I can only make croaking noises. The nurse produces a glass of water from a nearby table and puts it to my lips while supporting my head with her other hand. I drink greedily until the nurse pulls the glass away from my lips, indicating that it is enough for now. "What happened? How long have I been here?" I ask, my voice still hoarse. "You were brought here into the hospital 4 days ago with a nicked aorta. I'm sure the police will be by later to ask you questions and to bring you the exact details," the nurse answers. Her attitude aloof and professional. It reminds me so much of the time, a few weeks ago, when I first met Catherine that I cannot help myself but giggle for a bit, which sends sharp pains from my wound through my body. As I groan in pain, the nurse informs me that I should try to move as little as possible until the wound has fully healed. I nod obediently. Once the nurse has left, I sink back into my pillow. 4 days. Seems like Melissa got me pretty good back then. I wonder what happened to her. If at all possible, I would rather not ever face her again. Meeting a psycho once is already one time too many. I don't have to wait long to get my answers. Within the hour, a police officer is standing next to my bed, asking me a few questions to fill in the details surrounding the events on the day over half a week ago. He also informs me that this Melissa girl apparently managed to throw the knife with great skill, causing it to penetrate so deeply, but that she would probably be practicing her knife throwing skills in prison from now on for attempted murder. Some members of her mob also got questioned, and some detained with some facing charges. I wish I could say that I feel relieved at hearing this news, but I do not. I wonder what's wrong with this world that someone like me is being treated like this, and for what? Just for having been born like this? As I sink back into my pillow, I'm more than glad to leave reality behind in a deep sleep. So that was chapter 3, the 2010 version. The next section is the 2011 version, which I will continue in a next video, because my voice does need a little bit of a break, and yeah. But I can briefly talk about this chapter, at least for the people who have read the current 2011 version. They may notice that it's kind of goes back into the chapter 1 with being attacked. So that's it's quite different from the revised version, which is a lot more friendly. But we'll get into that with the next video. So I hope you enjoyed this reading, and I will go and give my voice a little bit of a rest. And I'll see you in the next video. So thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe, subscribe to my Patreon, anything. Just and leave a comment about what you liked, what you didn't like, what you would like to see. And thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye.